Welcome to Beatragus. Each week on our show, we spotlight species from the IUCN Critically Endangered Red List. These are plants and animals with decreasing populations, nearing the edges of extinction. So we'll share species research, information, and conservation proposals, and then we'll spend part of the show opening a space for contemplation and awe. We'll improvise a soundscape of gentleness, reflection, delight, and maybe of grieving. Without conservation activity and significant societal shift, many of these species may not survive the 21st century. And so, perhaps we might acknowledge their journey with a moment of our attention, a recognition of our kinship, and with a commitment to personal and systemic change. Thank you for listening. On today's show, we consider the Hirola. The Hirola is a critically endangered land mammal, an antelope, native to Eastern Africa, specifically Kenya and Somalia, with two subpopulations, one within the Tsavo East National Park in Kenya and another in unprotected land on the Somali-Kenyan border in Garissa County, Kenya. Its scientific name is Beatragus hunteri, and it was first described in 1889. The Hirola is a medium-sized antelope, approximately 3 to 4 feet tall at shoulder height, roughly 6 to 7 feet in body length, and weighing between 150 and 300 pounds. They have a slender build, a long neck, long legs, 2 curved tall horns, and a roughly foot-long tail. Their coat color ranges from tan and reddish-brown to gray, with a white underside and white patches on the face, ears, legs, and tail. They have a long, narrow face and a pointed muzzle. Large oval-shaped eyes are set on either side of the head, surrounded by a white ring of fur that connects across their muzzle, looking a bit like a pair of spectacles. They have large, dark, preorbital glands under their eyes. These are specialized scent glands that secrete a waxy pheromonal fluid used for marking territory, social communication, and for differentiating individuals. Their ears are large and pointed, and between the ears, both male and female Hirola grow curved, somewhat U-shaped ringed horns up from the top of the head. The horns are sharp and tall, growing between 1.5 and 2.5 feet in height. Hirola are social animals that typically live in small herds of about a dozen individuals, though larger herds may form during the wet season when resources are more abundant. In general, these herds consist of a group of adult females, their offspring, and a single territorial dominant male. Subgroups will also form. Small bachelor herds of yet-to-mate adult males, and mixed-sex herds of not-yet reproductive age juveniles. And the Hirola will also congregate with other species, joining herds of Grant's gazelle and plains zebra. Their herds roam over home ranges that can exceed 40 square miles and are seasonally nomadic, moving to seek newly sprouted grasses. Males are territorial, using chemical cues, urine, dung, and pheromones to mark their range, and visual signals, head flagging, scratching the ground with their hooves, and slashing vegetation with their horns. Hirola are generally crepuscular, meaning active around sunrise and sunset. And during the peak heat of the day, they'll shade under shrubs and trees, resting to reduce water loss and conserve energy. And in this arid landscape, they can survive long periods without drinking water, relying on the moisture content in the young green grass shoots that are central to their diet. Hirola are herbivores, grazers, that mainly feed on these grasses. And they are selective feeders, preferring short, new grasses, and if grasses grow too long or are disturbed by other grazers, the Hirola will seek other patches. That said, during the dry season, when grass is scarce, they will feed opportunistically, taking advantage of any available food sources, browsing on leaves and fruits. The herds graze together, seeking food sources cooperatively, and the group structure also helps to detect predators, protect young, and increase the chances of individual survival if the herd is preyed upon. Hirola mate once a year in March and April, with the dominant male mating with multiple females in his herd. Pregnant females gestate for roughly 8 months, and then, right before birthing, the female separates from the herd to give birth alone, hidden in dense vegetation. She births a single calf, and the pair remain isolated from their herd for 2 to 8 weeks, as the mother nurses and the calf quickly develops, gaining strength, agility, speed, soon able to stand and run. And once the calf can keep pace, they rejoin the herd, which now will often include other new mothers and their new calves, who provide protection, communal rearing, and social interaction for the young Hirola. Juvenile Hirola reach reproductive maturity between 2 to 3 years of age, though the young males are generally not large or dominant enough to establish their own territories and compete for mates until they're, say, 4 to 5 years old. Hirola live for an estimated 10 to 15 years. In the dream, all is dusk, orange lit, and she is low to the dusk-colored earth in the high grass, and she herself is dusk-colored and alone for the very first time in her life. In the dream, I can see her ears twitch, the wind and brush rustle command her attention, and I think I can see her fear. But even in the dream, another's mind is unknowable, and so I wait, holding my own fears for her as her contractions increase. I dread hyena and cheetah in the drought spent, and as she risks a soft whimper, suddenly a tangle of new life, stick limbs and smallness and beginnings. A calf, damp in the dry lands, draws a first breath, opens eyes to first sight. Her mother. In the dream. Hirola are native to Eastern Africa, to Kenya and to the Kenya-Somalia border, with 2 subpopulations, a protected subpopulation translocated in the 1960s to the Tsavo East National Park in Kenya, and a second subpopulation on unprotected land on the Somali-Kenyan border in Garissa County, Kenya. This is a semi-arid, open grassland savanna where the landscape shifts seasonally between dry arid conditions and relative greenery during the rainy seasons. These are grassy plains scattered with occasional shrubs and trees growing in dry, sandy soils, a rugged, flat expanse of muted browns with limited surface water. This is a hot, dry climate with summer temps reaching into the lower 100s Fahrenheit and winter lows dropping into the 60s Fahrenheit. Annual rainfall ranges from 12 to 24 inches, with distinct wet and dry seasons. The Hirola share their grassy plain with gold-banded forester, marabou stork, western cattle egret, vervet monkey, giant sensitive plant, tallboy star chestnut, dwarf gecko, cinnabar bracket, Somali dwarf mongoose, common hippopotamus, hairy carpetweed, teasel gourd, yellow baboon, Grant's gazelle, quail grass, lilac-breasted roller, African gray hornbill, Tana River crested mangabey, black pearl, water lettuce, African savanna elephant, blue monkey, pod mahogany, henna, cheetah, cashew, common bark katydid, reticulated giraffe, spotted hyena, desert rose, gray leaf heliotrope, desert warthog, plains zebra, and many, many more. Historically, the Hirola population has been threatened by human encroachment, habitat loss, and habitat fragmentation. The expansion of human settlements, infrastructure development, agriculture, and the introduction of domesticated livestock have reduced and transformed the Hirola's natural habitat. In the 1970s and 1980s, a viral disease called rinderpest jumped from the domesticated livestock population to the wild Hirola, killing over 13,000 individuals, roughly 90% of the remaining population. Relatedly, human-induced climate change due to persistent over-reliance on fossil fuels has resulted in prolonged droughts in the Hirola's native habitat, forcing Hirola to compete with domesticated livestock for scarce food and water. This also has affected the balance of prey species to predator species in their habitat. So we're in these drought conditions, and say a herd of gazelle who tend to range farther than the Hirola head west in search of better grazing. Now in the Hirola's native range, there are less prey species. So lion and cheetah focus on the Hirola. And so now predation, which we think of as a natural part of an ecosystem, has been imbalanced by human climate impacts, creating an additional population pressure on the Hirola. And lastly, though made illegal in 1997, poaching continues. Humans killing Hirola with snares and guns. Fortunately, the Tsavo subpopulation lives entirely on protected land, and in Garissa, the Hirola Conservation Program is protecting and restoring critical Hirola habitat through bush clearing, removing invasive plants, and promoting native vegetation. They also mount anti-poaching patrols throughout the Hirola's range. Hirola are legally protected at the local, national, and international levels. And in 2012, the Kenya Wildlife Service and the Ushabini Community Conservancy established a 6,000-acre livestock-free and predator-proof sanctuary to breed and reintroduce Hirola into the wild within their historic range in eastern Kenya. In 2016, the Hirola Conservation Program, in partnership with locals, helped establish the Garissa East Community Conservancy. This is 1,800 square miles of land that is collaboratively managed by indigenous semi-nomadic Somali people who are exploring new ways to share feeding grounds for their livestock and resources with herds of wild Hirola. 2024 study found that the harmonious coexistence program reduced predation, poaching, and deforestation, aiding the recovery of the Hirola. Nevertheless, the Hirola has been considered critically endangered on the IUCN Red List since 1996, and their population is in decline. Our most recent counts estimate that less than 250 Hirola remain in the wild. Information for today's show about the Hirola was compiled from the African Journal of Ecology, Volume 37, Number 1, and from Volume 53, from Samuel Adanje's doctoral dissertation at Newcastle University, from Ecological Applications, Volume 28, from Ecology and Evolution, Volume 16, Number 1, from iNaturalist, from the IUCN, from the Zoological Journal of the Linnean Society, Volume 190, Number 1, from Conservation Biology, Volume 38, Number 6, from Animal Diversity Web at the University of Michigan, from Oryx, Volume 49, Number 3, from Mammalian Species, Volume 49, Number 955, from the American Journal of Environmental Studies, Volume 7, Number 3, and from Wikipedia. For more information about Hirola conservation, please see the Hirola Conservation Program at hirolaconservation.org. So in a moment, I would like to perform some music in hopes of making space to be in contemplation of the other beings with whom we share our earth, like the Hirola. I do not intend to force meaning upon or extract meaning from the Hirola. Instead, I want this music to simply express my awe for all life. So I will pause in the space of sound and reflection, and I warmly invite you to join me. honor the lives of all Hirola, I will commit their name to my record. I am so grateful to have shared time on our planet with this beautiful being. And I lament the ways in which I and my species have harmed and diminished this species. I grieve. And so in the name of the Hirola, I pledge to reduce my consumption, my carbon footprint, and my wastefulness. I pledge to acknowledge and attempt to address the costs of my actions and inactions. I pledge to resist the harm of plant and animal kin and their habitat by individuals, corporations, and governments. I forever pledge my song to the witness and memory of all life, to a broad celebration of biodiversity, and to the total liberation of all beings. This has been Bada Goodbyes. Thank you for listening. Until next time, let's take care of each other and all of our kin.